So, I want to talk about accidents. And I think what I'm going to start out talking about is um several years ago, I woke up from a dream where there was this sort of translucent staircase, and my dad was there, and he said, "This isn't going to hurt." And I wondered if I was dying. And then I woke up and I got real worried about my one of my brothers, and also about another guy someone who is not one of my brothers, but that I care about. That it was like I feel like one of them is going to potentially have a car accident, and I was real concerned about that. And my brother, in fact, that afternoon or evening on the way home from work was in a car accident. And um thankfully, I don't think he was injured too badly, but I think there was some pretty significant damage to his car. So how did I mean, I don't know, sometimes I pick up on things before they happen. This morning it was a nightmare that I wondered if it might be precognitive, maybe about war. That could be. I have experiences like that sometimes. So, but but I wanted to talk about accidents. So, um, I was thinking how I was thinking about, well, myself, personally in my own life, how painful so much is, and why is that? Why can't adults have respect for each other? Why can't adults just get along? I don't understand. We are not children. We are children of older adults, but we're not children, and it's humiliating. I mean, could I say, I really hope that my mom is not continuing to surveil the videos that I'm making, because I've asked her not to, after she looked at something on Saturday and said she didn't like it. And, it's like, well, I didn't send you the link and you shouldn't have watched it. All right. So my name isn't out here. Her name isn't out here. There's not a whole lot of identifying information, um, and so, yeah, dirty laundry. I mean, what's that? People need to be able to talk. She's a clinical psychologist. Three of my four brothers are clinical psychologists. And the one brother that isn't and I are like, I mean, it's a hell. It's a hell. Where do you go? Where do you go for support? And I mean, for me with the shop, I mean, you know, I that was a position of helping support people. Um and I've done some of that in my life and work, and volunteer work and things like that. But I was just thinking about how bad so much feels, and it's like I could just imagine my legs being tangled up in something, and my dad trying to help get me out of this tangled mess, whatever it is that happened to the family, whatever it is that's happened to adults, and the way adults are treating each other and thinking about each other. And again, humiliation. I mean, what is disturbing is thinking that the adults in the family might try to silence me more again, whatever that's about. You're not supposed to have a voice. You never were. It doesn't matter what you say. You don't have a doctoral degree. You're not supposed to talk about these things. Truly, the oppression in the South, in this country, it is so profound, so profound. And I'm really surprised at it. I mean, I knew it was bad, but until the past several years, it's like, wow. I mean, no, there's not been progress. Not, I don't think so. But I was thinking about accidents, and I could talk about when I was a young child. Accidents that was that scar is from an accident, from four adults in a house and me by myself learning to walk, as it is said. And I think maybe I wanted to be with an adult or adults. Maybe I wanted my grandfather to hold me. Maybe I wanted to see my dad. Maybe, I probably didn't gravitate towards the kitchen. I don't know. I guess I was in a room by myself, a hallway by myself, and I fell on an open can of paint. That's the story, learning to walk. That was an accident. And yeah, it goes down into my lip. And I was told, yeah, you're lucky it didn't injure the nerve, so that, yeah, well, accident. I think about one of my brothers who pulled down Corningware with brownies or something in it, and it cut in something in his foot to where blood was just spurting when he was very, very young. You know, an accident. You know, I tried to make sure that things like that didn't happen to my brothers. And I tried, and I think I tried to take care of my mom too. You know, when she would cry because her parents were, I don't know what, disapproving of whatever, you know. And what happens when you try to protect an adult from things like that? It is hard to ever get past doing that in your life, you know. And when you decide to step back from that role, what happens? Well, that person might have a hard time making decisions. That person, you know, I mean, yeah, that's a dependency on a child that maybe that adult is never willing to admit. But yeah, so accidents, you know, I think about, I mean, every day, of course, there are many accidents, and there are EMS workers who get out there and try to keep people from dying, you know, um, cutting away metal when, you know, I mean, just different things, trying to help a person out of a potentially lethal situation, you know. After a certain point with pain, I think something kicks in the body so that we don't feel as much physical pain. And for me, emotional pain, you know, I was thinking earlier today about when I was in the abusive relationship, and I have said, you know, he was verbally abusive and he was physically abusive, but emotionally, I just didn't let it bother me. Well, I often do that. I try not to let things bother me. Then what happens? You know, when I have to do that to protect myself emotionally, what do I not pick up on? Well, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. But, you know, what I'm talking about is accidents. How do accidents happen? You know, I have my one dog, and not more than one dog, because I feel like on my own, I don't think I can manage more than one dog. I don't think I can do that. You know, if I had two dogs, maybe there would be more likelihood of an accident happening, you know, something harmful happening. You know, some of us try real hard when we grew up in a family where there were things that went on. And, you know, it's like that chaos isn't good. A person in pain, that isn't good. Trying to help a person survive something really bad. I think about my brother's foot's spurting blood. And yeah, you know, could he have bled to death? Well, if the adults weren't near enough, then maybe he could have. You know, but yeah, someone trying to help untangle a person's being from a hurtful, harmful mess, you know. And you know, I think about the ankle on my legs, and I was looking at my legs after I got up today, and I just thought, people really don't care. I mean, I really have been thrown away. I have been thrown away. If I've been thrown to the wolves, thank good, because I think I can get along with the wolves, but I have been thrown away. But you know, I think about the egg, and sure, yeah, the tattoos hurt. I mean, anyone out there would think, you know, we can talk about that. You know, something kicks in after a while, you know, it's not as painful. You might get thirsty, you might get a headache, but yeah, I wonder how many of us have that experience, you know. Um, but you know, thinking about my dad trying to help untangle me from, what is it? Is it hate, a lack of respect, people using substances and not wanting to acknowledge it? You know, attitudes of, you know, arrogance, pomposity, you know, I am better than you, competition. Where does it come from? It's not okay. It's not okay. You know, again, you know, accidents. I mean, there are plenty of kinds of accidents. I think about something that might happen in a workplace where someone is harmed real badly, you know, um, with a machine or something like that, you know, just anything. There was a child injured so badly at the elementary school nearby that he died. And a few years ago, there was an emergency vehicle or a couple of emergency vehicles at the corner a few years ago, and I thought, what's going on? I wonder if I can see what that's about. And when I started trying to look, what I saw was one of the first things well, I saw stuff about gangs too, but one of the first things that I saw was about a child who was injured so badly at that elementary school that he died. Well, what happened? What happened? When you have a big classroom, a whole bunch of children, it can be hard to prevent things from happening sometimes. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, you know, what do I do? Do I try to prevent accidents? I do. I try to drive pretty carefully. I try to chew my food. I don't always do that real well if I'm real hungry. There's plenty that I do. I grew up trying to keep sharp objects away from the edges of the counters, and whatever I could do to keep my brothers from getting into things that could harm them. And I kind of have to do the same thing with my dog because he likes to get up. He might think he's human a little bit. But anyhow, yeah, accidents. What are accidents? What can we do to prevent accidents? How do we respond when there is an accident? I mean, well, I can talk about when there's a crisis. I think when there's a crisis, some of us are calm in crisis, and I don't know if the older we get, this changes some, and the anxiety isn't quite as intense, but I really work hard to manage my anxiety. Some of us do pretty well in a crisis, but then, wow, on the anxiety that might happen afterwards. What about an accident? I mean, I just try to prevent those things. I mean, a person bleeding, a person with their body injured, that's not good. A broken bone, that's not good. And what other kinds of accidents are there? I mean, there are accidental overdoses. That's not good. I mean, there's plenty like that. But yeah, I just thought I would talk about that for a few minutes, feeling like imagining my dad trying to untangle me from whatever horrifying mess I have found myself in my 50s with really unloving family members. And yeah, I can say that, and I can say that with no qualms. And they might not like it, but that's the way it is. Maybe people need to learn how to love. Maybe people need to relearn respect. And again, if my mom continues to watch these videos, well, that's her problem. Silencing, censorship, authoritarianism, that is no different at all. No different at all. I'm direct with her. I say what I think as much as I can to her. I don't do this to try to communicate with her. But if she's watching, then yeah, I am saying, Ma, don't watch these videos unless I send you a link. You're not welcome to do that. And if you do, what's going to happen? Your feelings might get hurt. You might get angry. You might retaliate. You might take something out on me. And that is not okay. So, yeah. So, anyway, let's avoid accidents. Tomorrow is Friday. Here it's raining a whole lot. I think I think it's real important to think about potential and prevent harmful things from happening.